back in the days, the way our parents were raised with their own parents, our grandparents and great grandparents, they would use leaves such as banana leaves, or they had their own ways of cleaning their posterior after using the lavatory for number 2, which is the long call. Then they used to have their own ways. Was it accurate and 100%? I'm not so sure. However, when you clean using water, then you're sure about the area, the posterior, is clean and free of fecal matter. So I touched on why you should not use the tissue roll to clean your posterior. Because the action of wiping, all you're doing is spreading the fecal matter. So you're supposed to use soap and water and an equivalent of a face towel to clean your posterior. So let me demonstrate to you, if you don't mind. So with me, I have face towels here. I'm going to remove one of these. This one I'll discuss when it comes to the action of showering. So I have face towels here with me. I'll start with these two. Normally, I carry these two when I'm traveling. One is for my face, and the other one is for cleaning the body. For the face, for the body. And then I have several for cleaning the posterior. This is what I use to clean the posterior. And after using, I clean them up. Na nazianika. Okay. So I have this. Niko na hii. These two. Na hii moja hapa. All these are for cleaning my posterior. And I can travel with them, though niko na hizi mbili hapa, which I travel with for cleaning my, or I can even decide, sababu hizi, these ones are still new. I haven't used some of them, but I have the face towel that I normally use, the face towels that I normally use. These are just additionals because in a month I review and then I buy new ones. So I haven't used these ones, though I will decide. I love this because the surface is not coarse, it's very soft. So I think even this will be far much better for the face. So see, it's easy for me to even have these two for my face when I travel and these two for cleaning the posterior. It's not that this one is hard. Ipi iko sawa. I can still use it for showering and for, you know, the key thing is that I make sure I have a set with me for traveling. Apart from this, I also carry my own towel. I carry my own toothbrush and my own toothpaste. Even though the places where I'm visiting, they may have, I prefer carrying my own stuff. And if I don't have, the first thing I'll do is I'll make sure that I buy those essentials before I head to my destination, which is something that we ought to do. So as I was explaining, this is what I use to clean my posterior. So I'm done with number 2. May visit the lavatory, and I'm done with the number 2. So the first thing I do, I apply soap. I can bar soap vizuri, and then now you wipe your posterior. Ukienda na juu, si chini, because utaki kudrive hiyo uchafu iende to the other regions. Una wipe ikienda juu. So once you have applied soap kwa hiyo ndo umewipe, unarudi una rinse, unarudisha tena, you wipe up until you cannot see the sweat stains. As long as unaona sweat stains hapo, bado you need to do the cleaning. So once I'm done na hii, and now I can't even see the sweat stains, then now I use this one. If I have a liquid soap, I'll apply the liquid soap. Nirudi tena hapo. Now with this, now I can clean the whole entire area. Sile ingine nilikuwa napeleka juu. Now this one I can clean even the other areas vizuri. You know, the other lower regions. I wipe them now properly. And then I rinse. Nikishika maji na rinse vizuri, narudi hapo, napanguza kabisa, and then you squeeze kabisa this towel, and then now unarudi una pad vizuri. No. It's like you pad yourself gently. Then after you're done with that, this now should be the final process. Using this tissue. This is now the final process. You're using this to dry. Si kupanguza, you're using now to dry. But don't dry when you haven't used this. Hutaki kudry kama your place bado kuna maji, because the tissue, what happens when the tissue gets wet, when inacha some of those tissue residues, and you don't want that. So once you have used this, now may squeeze kabisa as the final process of cleaning. Now you use this to dry your posterior completely. Na utapata bill yako ina reduce by a huge margin. That is the process. That is how you're supposed to clean yourself. I live in a very old house, and the place where I live, it's an old setting. The design, the look, it's the design of an old house. So there are certain features which, especially if we are going to talk about finishing, there are some certain finishings which are not available. However, I've been in this place. It's a nice place and I love it. I myself am planning to buy a beaded sprayer, because I know the question is, do I have to do that all the time? Do I have to put water in a basin? Do I have to keep doing this? And there is a simpler solution. What is a beaded sprayer? If you have a Muslim friend and you happen to visit their home and you request to use their washroom, they don't have tissue rolls. I visited Garissa in 2021. 2021, I think 2022. Thereof. And in Garissa, there are no tissue rolls. In their hotels, or if you go to their homes, they don't use tissue rolls. What they have is a beaded sprayer. Unaona kwa hiyo kiti ya choo. Unaona hiyo choo tu yenye the WC, the cistern. Hapo kando panakuwaga na another pipe, a sprayer. Hiyo sa the beaded sprayer, where once you're done, you just grab it and you point the nozzle to the direction of the posterior, and then you release pressure, your maji itoke, so that you clean your posterior after you're done with number 2. Again, splashing water does not equal you cleaning up the area. Because the key thing here, we don't want to spread fecal matter. So even as you use water, if you're only going to use water and not use an equivalent of this to clean, bado hakuna kazi umefanya. You're just spreading fecal matter everywhere. But that is the beaded sprayer. The fact that I live in an old house, it doesn't mean that I can't have the beaded sprayer. My plan actually is to get one of them. I've identified different suppliers, and the pricing is very affordable. There is a beaded sprayer for, I think, 700 shillings to 1200 shillings all the way. It depends. If you're someone who prefers something that is more gisty and, people are different. What coconut is different. But for me, I want a beaded sprayer that is within my budget as long as it serves the function of what I need. And that is to ensure that if I'm using the washroom, the lavatory for number 2, I have to ensure that I'm totally clean once I'm done there. And the reason for this is, if you look at your undergarments for the men and women, if your undergarments have fecal stains, that is because you're not cleaning your posterior. Tissue cannot clean you 100%. This thing is dry. So the main purpose of the tissue is to dry the posterior, not to wipe off fecal matter. And our posteriors are different. Some of us are hairy down there, and you're using a tissue roll to wipe your matterhole. It's that, that one. I don't want to use the full name because of YouTube, but how can you use the tissue roll to wipe fecal matter off your matterhole? It doesn't work. You need this. This is what you need. And water. Soap, water, and this. Just as I've explained simply how I do it. I wish that our offices will have beaded sprayers, but they don't have. However, you can carry any of these if you have a Ziploc paper na unaenda nao kwa ofisi. I know that again it's very challenging, because how do you get water uingie nayo huko kwa washroom? Another alternative will be you get Hanan wipes. Hanan, they have wet wipes that you can use for number 2 when you use the lavatory. The key thing is, ukienda number 2, you're supposed to wipe until you don't see fecal stains. But because we are using tissue, look at your boxers. Skid marks zimeja huko. It's all ski huko. And especially during the summer, that is where you get to experience different odors coming from those areas. Why? And I know you're asking that question, why? During summer, when the sun is out by 6:30, and by 8 a.m. there is a glare of sun, ni kama ile jua ya saa 7 ama saa 8, and by the time it hits the afternoon, the heat is unbearable. Now, I want you to imagine in that hot, humid summer weather, you use the lavatory for number 2. You use the tissue roll, this one here. Whether it's this or the smaller size, as long as it's only tissue, you're using this. You're done with the number 2. Now you're using that to wipe off fecal matter from your posterior. And it doesn't wipe completely. And then you sweat, because we all sweat. Whether you have hyperhidrosis or bromhidrosis, and bromhidrosis cannot exist without hyperhidrosis. Now, you have hyperhidrosis, you're sweating hex cells in the groin and trunk area. Even the normal acclimated person, our counterparts, the normal acclimated persons, they still sweat. They may not sweat as much, but they sweat in those areas. Let's be honest. Huwezi niambia you don't sweat off your posterior. You normal acclimated. You do. We all do. Difference is you don't sweat as much as we do, but you do sweat. If you happen to sweat and the sweat mixes with the fecal matter, so ulipanguza na tissue, all you did was just spread, and now you're sweating. The sweat is mixing with the fecal matter. Ile harufu inatoka pale, and then there is that heat. It's very unpleasant, right? Very, very unpleasant. This is why kutumia maji na sabuni kuosha hiyo sehemu inasaidia sana.